Good evening, everybody, and namaskar. Welcome on behalf of the Bombay Management Association to the second Friday Fundamentals episode of this calendar year. We have a luminary with us here today, Mr. Ramesh Iyer, who is the Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services, and also the President of the Financial Services sector of Mahindra and Mahindra, besides being on the group executive board of the company. Mr. Ramesh Iyer took up the mantle of leading Mahindra Financial Services to the giant organization, much respected organization that it is today, and has completed a silver jubilee in terms of leading this organization to a place of pride in corporate India today. Mr. Ramesh Iyer is also very active in the professional circuit, being members of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Indian Merchant Chamber, CII, FICCI, and time and again has held positions of prestige, leading several committees, chairing several reports and fact-finding missions for these organizations. Finds also time to be on the Board of Governors of IIT Bombay and the Washington State University, besides associating with some business schools in Mumbai. Besides all this, he also finds time to be following his passion, and that is music and singing. However, today, Mr. Ramesh Iyer is going to be part of this learning journey with BMA, where he's going to present to us his own experiences in how rural prosperity was enabled by this wonderful organization that all of us know, Mahindra and Mahindra, and how they could lead India to a greater position of prosperity in the rural segment. Thank you, Mr. Iyer. It's a pleasure to have you on the BMA forum. I'm aware that in the past you have been involved with some programs for the Bombay Management Association, but this is the first time we welcome you on a digital platform where BMA went off to from April onwards. Until date, we have done about 80 webinars on the digital platform. So it's indeed our honor to have you here with us this evening. May I request you to please share your wisdom with our participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening and namaskar. I hope I'm clear. You can hear me clearly. There is no break, I guess. All right.
Yes. No
So when
problem.
I was first contacted by you, Mani, that I have to come and speak to the BMA, I was not honestly aware whom am I going to be exposed to. And then when I came into this and I got suddenly introduced to all the veterans, I'm now not sure, am I going to share my knowledge or I'm here to really learn from all of them through their experiences. So I will still try my best of sharing whatever the little that we have done in the rural market. It may be interesting and useful for everyone to know a little bit of how we started, what we did, and then I will take you through the journey of what we are doing and how we see the rural market. Uh, I very personally think that rural has not been understood by anybody, neither by us, even after 25 years. And if you kind of look at the definitions for rural, you will find diamond dozen definition on rural, and each one kind of cuts and slices rural in their own way, and then try to make sense out of it. But in our own minds, I think we have a very simple definition of rural, which is whichever locations are difficult to reach through a flight destination, it's better to call that rural, because on the road it takes now a couple of hours to reach anywhere to anywhere, right? So, and initially that's how it was defined, to say rural didn't have a good road, it was difficult to reach rural. I mean, it's become Mumbai has become rural. I mean, if you have to reach from one end to another end, it is taking 3 hours to reach. So does that definition really hold good at all? God only knows it doesn't. So, our journey started in 1995. The company actually was registered a couple of years before that, but the active retail business, if you may call, started only in 1995. And we started off as a captive finance company, and the whole idea was to be able to finance the tractors or vehicles manufactured by Mahindra and Mahindra. But very interestingly, when this company was formed, the vehicles and tractors were a short supply product, and people had to wait for long before they could get their vehicle or tractor. And and therefore they didn't want finance to be arranged. They went and brought money from somebody because they knew unless you make payment, you will never get an allocation. So therefore, finance was not required. So just look at the fate of someone like me who joined the company. We've been setting up a business to start a business where you are not required at all. Now, I joined in 1995, and I had a colleague of mine who was then working for one of the Mahindra company. And two of us actually started this company, and we had one table and two chair just to kind of lay out as to how this company was started. And I'll just quickly give some very small statistics to give you the size and magnitude so that there will be some appreciation to what we have done. As of today, as I speak to you, from 95 to now, 25 years, I've been with the company, virtually the first or the second employee of the company. Today, we have within the financial services sector that I run, we have about 33,000 people, and we run close to about 100,000 crore of balance sheet between the finance, housing, and the mutual fund altogether. We run about 100,000 crore of balance sheet. That's what the rural has done to us in 25 years. And therefore, I would never ever agree with anybody when they say that, is rural an opportunity or is it a risk? So I always think that rural is a phenomenal opportunity, and that's what it's done to us. If I have to look at number of consumers that we have worked with upward of about 7 8 million customers over this period of time. And we have spread across in every state, right from Jammu Kashmir. We have got something like 15 branches. We have got in whole of Assam, we have got something like 11 branches. So there is not a single state that we are not present today. We cover about 85% of India's districts. And very interestingly, when we spot our customer, they are present in 400,000 villages of this country. So out of the 600,000 villages that we have our customers sitting in 400,000 village. And that's the excitement I believe rural is all about. But if you have to really be in rural, and if you have to get something out of rural, the only way that one can do is to be there on the spot locally. I don't think you can crack rural sitting at thousands of miles away. And I must share with you some examples of why we make that statement. When we started this business, we also thought, oh, Mahindra company, we go to Mahindra dealers, business will be very natural. Why not we get it, and etc. etc. I think we suddenly found that the customers themselves don't have a belief in them that they are credit worthy. That was our first experience when we met some customers. And why is that? Because they never got any loans from the banking system. And for whatever their requirements were, they got it only from money lender. And when they were getting money from the money lender at that astronomical rate and price, and when somebody like us went and told them we can give you loan at this price, I don't think they ever believed that this is what we are willing to do. I'm sure they must have had doubts about we wanting to take away something from them by giving this. And therefore, they never wanted to believe in what we were really saying. So that was our first shock as to how do we really understand this customer, and how do we start lending to them when they themselves don't have faith and belief in their capability or competence. So the first solution that we thought was necessary to crack this is to really recruit people locally. There was no point whatsoever in recruiting people from urban market and posting them in rural market, because this disbelief would have continued forever. So we decided that we will recruit people from local market, because they will then speak local language. They will know the local challenges. They would be coming from the local families where many of the consumers will know them as a family locally. And therefore their acceptance to what they say would be very, very high. So the first decision that we took was that we will recruit people locally. We did not bother or think for a minute that how would we build a culture of an organization where people come from different walks of life, from rural market. They would not possibly speak English. They would only speak Hindi or local language. We said, if you are very sure about the business to be built around consumer, then we shouldn't worry about how the corporate will handle it. I think the worry we should have is how will the corporate change to the needs of the market, rather than try and change the market to the needs of the corporate. So, which is why we boldly took that decision. I think the second decision that we had to take was, as I said, you can't work from a distance. We said, let's roll out our branches across the country. Said, let's take a state, let's start rolling out branches, and let's be very close to customer. And why we say that is because when we started understanding from the customer, we realized that all their earnings comes in cash. Whatever they sell, whether they sell crop, whether they run a vehicle and take the freight, or whether they carry goods and collect freight, or they carry passenger and collect passenger fares, everything comes in cash. And the only way they can buy anything is by cash. So if I was to give them a loan, they would repay this loan to me only in cash. And I'm talking of 20, 25 years back, and that's not changed over a period of time. And I'll tell you how challenges encountered by us during the period. But the fact was that if you have to locally collect cash, then you have got to be locally present through your branches. And unfortunately or fortunately, they will work even odd hours. They'll come to your branch in the evening at 7 o'clock and deposit cash when the banking hours are over. Now they come from 40, 50, 60 kilometers away, maybe from your branch. Now, if you tell them, sorry, I can't accept the cash, then it's over. They will say, that's fine with me. They'll go back, and then you will have to travel the 60 kilometers to collect the cash whenever you can. So it's a very funny business that we got into. For the borrowing, they are willing to travel hundreds of kilometers. For repayment, the company has to travel the same hundreds of kilometers. This was a very, very interesting proposition out there, and therefore we had to open more and more branches. So as I speak to you today, we have something like 1,300 branches across the country, which interacts with the consumer, and we have people sitting in those branches, and we have customers coming and going. In 95, this was not a huge challenge to handle, because you hardly have a handful of business. And if somebody paid an installment, you collected 10,000 rupees installment, and you collected from maybe just 100 of them. Today, across the country, our monthly installments are about 2,000 crores, and 70% of this money comes in cash. So we collect about 1,400 crores of cash across the country. And we run something like 1,600 bank accounts across where this cash gets deposited on a daily basis. Now, I believe that something which can look to be a challenge from a distance, if you find a solution to that, that can actually become a strategic differentiator. Now, we found that this is one of the very unique strategic differentiator, because everybody and not everyone is willing to take this kind of a risk and go deeper and handle cash. It may be interesting for you to know, when we started financing three-wheelers, we had a very altogether a new experience. Even the three-wheeler person wants to pay installment only in cash. There is no doubt. But you and I sit in a three-wheeler, and we sometimes give him a 2 rupee coin, 5 rupee coin, 10 rupee coin as his fare, right? Now, so he collects all these coins from various passengers. And as a monthly installment, when he has to pay me about 5,000 rupees, he comes and pays 2,500 rupees in coins, and the balance in, currency notes. Now, it's a choice you can make. You can say, sorry, no, I can't handle coins. He will say, then I can't pay you. Or you accept it and say, okay, what do I find? So one of the learnings for us is, and this has been a real life learning for me, if you have a problem sometimes and you can't find a solution, it's better you make this as somebody else's problem, right? So you look at what the three-wheeler guy has done. He had a problem of these coins, and he didn't know what to do. So he made it my problem. He came and dropped it on my table. And just imagine my branch manager's fate if 20 two-wheeler, three-wheeler fellow comes and pays 2,000 rupee coin in small packets, right? That poor fellow is handling 40,000 worth value coins. Now, what is he going to do with his money? So he made it somebody else's problem. He went to the bank and he started depositing these coins. And the bank cannot refuse to accept this, because it's their currency at the end of the day. So they said, okay, if you deposit today, I'll give you a credit only after 2 days after counting them. We thought that losing 2 days interest on this money was a much lower cost as compared to handling it and holding it with you. So we transferred the problem to a bank. We said, okay, here is the money, you take it. Now we think that bank has solved the problem. Possibly not. What they do is, when some local guy comes for a loan and he wants a personal loan of 5,000, 10,000 rupee, they say 2,000 rupee will be given only in coins. We cannot give you 10,000 rupee full rupee note. Now take 2,000 rupee in coins. Now you look at the same problem. Coin comes from customer to me, from me to a bank, and goes back to the customer. The same fellow comes and pays that money to me as installment. So we have not solved the problem. We've just kind of made it another person's problem, and all three of us are making money in the transaction. Customer is making money, is giving that to me. I am making money, I'm giving it back to the bank. Bank is making money, bank is giving us loan, they are making money. So it's sometimes very interesting that, we all somehow believe that if there is a problem, we have to find a solution. It is not necessary. If you have a problem and you make it somebody else's problem, it can be an opportunity for someone else on the other side. Now the bank thinks that I have handled my problem and they have got 2 days interest float. So they have made money out of handling this problem. So this is how, we developed this business. We said, no, that's the only way that you can make a strategic difference to be in that market, right? Now, again, we did some silly errors when we got into the business, which is when we financed first the vehicles, we gave a monthly installment to consumer. And after some time, we started financing tractors. And like typical finance company, we gave a tractor guy also a monthly installment. Now that fellow jolly well, when he wants a loan, he accepted our structure. He never came and ever told us that I can't pay you monthly because I don't get my cash flow on a monthly basis. I only get it once in 6 months. So please make a 6 monthly installment. His fear was if he was asking for it, we would have said no for a loan. So he accepted whatever we gave him as a possibility. And then he started defaulting because he doesn't earn on a monthly basis. Suddenly we found tractor NPS going up. And that's the time we realized how foolish we were to have not understood the needs of the consumer. And we were only focusing on our requirement and made it look to a customer that I'm giving you what you're wanting it, right? And then suddenly got to facing a problem of this nature. Now, this is the other insight that we got is that, while you may be in a lending business and it's not necessary that all lending is similar. So therefore, we kind of asked ourselves a question, what really is our business? Initially we used to call ourselves a tractor financier, we used to call as vehicle financier, we used to call whatever. We suddenly realized that our product is money. This tractor, vehicle and everything else is only a collateral. Our product is actually money. And we will have to design that product in such a way which meets the consumer needs. And therefore, we change the pattern of all the businesses of recovery. When you look at our vehicle business, it is monthly installment. When you look at our three-wheeler business, it's a weekly repayment. When you look at a tractor business, it's quarterly or half-yearly repayment. Now, there is another very interesting proposition here. As I said, the customers come from 40 kilometer, 50 kilometer, whatever. Rural market does not allow you to standardize products so easily. So if we cannot have for all customer a standard tractor business, model or a standard vehicle financing model, because, we may say 1 lakh rupee margin money, we will give you 4 lakh rupee loan and it is done. But when they come from 40, 50 kilometer away, they come with whatever money they have in hand. Some of them come with 1,05,000. Some of them come with 98,000. Some of them come with 1,25,000. Whatever they'll come with. Now, if I tell them it's 1 lakh margin money and if he has got only 98,000, he cannot go back and say, okay, I'll come after another 2 days. He will not come. So somebody else may end up financing. So if you look at our base, in a month, if we do 50, 60,000 customer financing, most of them are structured financing. Everybody is a unique product. Somebody has got a 98,000 margin. Somebody has got a 1,05,000 margin. Somebody has got 1,25,000 margin. Now, this is the capability we have to build in our systems that we can handle so many variations. Because if you try and standardize, then the rural market is not available. Because rural market requires a very unique solution to every problem. So you look at the three elements of the problem that I explained, whether it's collection, whether it's a product design, whether it's local presence to understand the customer need. Each of this is a solution to make a business model out there. While one may always think, why can't we standardize all of this? So when you try and standardize all of this, you lose many, many customers. So the fundamental point that I'm trying to make out of this is rural is something that, you need to ensure that you partner this customer and you provide solution to this customer. And it is not a market where you think that you have a standard product that you can go and administer and sell them out there very easily. That is the real challenge of this market. And then you have unique variations within the state and within the country. What works in Kerala just doesn't work in Tamil Nadu. What works in Tamil Nadu for sure is not working for us in anywhere in the East. So I think each state is a unique component for us. Within the state, each location is a unique component. And then you look at further complication that each product that we finance has a different application. I mean, we did not realize initially that tractor 40% of the cash generated in tractor use is coming from non-farm application. Now, if we design a product in tractor with a 6 monthly installment and is using every month for an haulage application, look at the product that it depreciates so fast, and then you have not collected your installment. So the whole business model that we developed had to be based not on the financial analytical capability, but it all on the customer knowledge base. So all our people had to gain substantial knowledge about the customer's ability, customer's capability to earn, customer's ability to earn from the product that he buys, and therefore his intention and ability to repay. That's the model that we built. So we call ourselves a earn and pay model. It's not a fixed cash flow model, and therefore there will always be these vagaries of monsoon which will happen. There'll be always some economic downturn which will happen in rural market. There will be political turnaround which will be happening, which will put pressure on that market at different points of times. You will have different pressures coming to the customer, which eventually leads towards us. So therefore, the knowledge about what's happening locally with the customer, in the customer's earning potential, and in the product that he puts to use, all of this becomes extremely essential for us when we are working in that market. So therefore, knowledge that we have to keep gathering from the market becomes extremely important. I mean, just look at a company which is collecting 60-70% monthly installments in cash from customer, and we wake up in 2008, November 8 morning, and say demonetization. Just imagine a situation on 8th November when demonetization was announced. Our business is just to be written off, right? If 60-70% of the people are paying in cash and they cannot now transact, what do you do? I think the fundamental question that came to our mind that night when we heard this was, how do you first communicate with your employees and actually tell them not to collect cash tomorrow? Because it would have become a huge governance and an ethical issue if you were to collect cash and you are sitting on that money which cannot be transacted. So I think it's also extremely important when we set up these kind of business, how do you build systems and processes around governance and ethical practices, because you could get caught on the wrong foot many times otherwise. So the first decision that we took on the 9th morning is to have a webcast across the country and tell them that you will not accept cash, and we actually disengaged all our collection machines so that they couldn't cut receipts even if they were to collect. Now, you suddenly get stuck with a problem like this, but that's where the knowledge of the local becomes useful. That's where it becomes very essential to understand how the consumers are reacting to this. And the good news was that the customers, all of them are poor guys, hard-earned money. So yes, they stood in the queues of the bank, they deposited the money, but they could convert their money into whatever usable pattern. And then the business once more started. But then all of us thought in 2000, when this demonetization happened, that nothing would, kind of be like before. But as I speak to you today, even now we collect the same 50-60% of collections come in cash. It's because their fundamentals have not changed, right? I mean, you and I sit in a three-wheeler and still pay cash. So what does he do? He has to only collect it and pay it to you. So I think this still continues. But at the same time, in the new era of this pandemic, we have found that 30-40% of the customers are willing to change, to move towards a digital means. Now, the overall composition of the rural market has also undergone a dynamic change. I mean, if you look at the knowledge and the data that's available now from the market and what was available 25 years back or 15 years back is very different, was very different. I mean, you must believe me when I say that the rural consumers are also as aspirational as an urban customer is. He also now believes that he needs to get the best. He also believes that he's capable of getting the best. Now, therefore, we as a model has to go and undergo this kind of dynamic change, maybe once in 7 years, maybe once in 10 years. You can't say I've done it for 20 years and therefore this will be the business and I would do nothing else but this. There is no room for survival if that is so. So what we realized in this process from then to now is what started off as a captive company trying to do vehicle and tractor financing, actually we built a huge channel across the country through our branch network and people network, reaching very close to the customer, as I said, in 400,000 village, and created a pipeline for many OEMs who could operate through us. So what started off as a captive finance company and had 100% of the balance sheet coming only from Mahindra products, today only 45% of the balance sheet comes from Mahindra product. 55% of the products are other OEM products. So we built a channel which has allowed this business to become a large business through that. It does not mean that we have done anything less now for Mahindra. What we have done for Mahindra, we continue to do. We have a high market share. We continue to support the product, do that. But using the channel that we have built into the deeper market and offering those channel to other OEMs, and have created a model around that. Now, when we created a model around that, then we looked around as to what are all the other business opportunities. Having gone that deep and having worked with consumer, what else could we do? We quickly found that rural housing was an emerging big opportunity. Now, the rural housing is a misnomer in terms of its words are concerned. It's not a large house construction. So when you walk across all our villages, you'll find many semi-finished houses. And then, they kind of complete one side wall, they kind of leave it open for some time. And then we were inquisitive to understand why was this happening. And very simple reason is that the customer cash flow did not support them to be able to complete the house. So they said, this crop, this year the crop failed. So sorry, I didn't have enough money, so I couldn't complete my house. So we said, why not we participate in that? So what we call ourselves as a rural housing business is nothing but a room addition, room expansion. So they have a house, they want to construct a wall within the house, the son is getting married, they want to create a room. We went and supported them. So our loan product is about 50,000, 70,000, 1 lakh. But believe in me, in last 5, 7 years, it has built a 10,000 crore balance sheet because the opportunity is so large. Again, the point I'm making is if we went as a housing loan and we said we only give minimum 5 lakh rupee loan and these are the collateral we need, and this is how the loan will have to be repaid, there is no business there. There's absolutely no business. But if you went there and said, okay, tell me your problem and I will provide you a solution. And when we heard that the problem these guys had was that this year crop failed and therefore they didn't complete the house, we said, okay, we fund you. Repay me in next 2 years, repay me in next 3 years. And that opportunity is in millions. That opportunity is in millions. And it kind of makes sufficient profit when you do these kind of things. So our learning is if you sell as a product, your margins are limited. When you sell as a solution, we found the margins expand. The margins really expand to a different level. And that is what has helped this company to be where it was. This company was started, as I said, in 95. We listed ourselves in 2006. It is a listed company and it's done well for us on that from that day. So there has been a demand for a product like this and it has grown itself to really a large size. Having done the housing business, then we started looking for what could be the next opportunity that one can really focus on. And we very quickly found that insurance is the least penetrated in that market. Now, we are not an insurance company. So what we did was we set up an insurance distribution business and we started working with all the insurance companies, both on the life and general insurance side. And we found that again, there it was necessary that you don't go and sell a standard product. So how do you create a product? You're not a manufacturing company. You're not an insurance manufacturer. So what we did was we understood the needs of the consumer and went and discussed with an insurance company and we created a product called Loan Suraksha. Now we realized that many of the Mahindra Finance customers actually are the breadwinner of the family. They borrow for the vehicle, they run the vehicle, earn from the vehicle and run the family. And if anything had to happen to that individual borrower, the company was taking away the asset. Now the family was completely left dry. They had absolutely therefore nothing with them. So we created an insurance product where we insure the life of that borrower for a value of the loan. Now, if anything was to happen to that particular borrower, then the family is offered either the vehicle or the claim settlement. The family can choose between the two what they want. So if they choose to keep the vehicle, we get the claim. If they choose to take the claim, we get the vehicle. So it became a hugely win-win product for all of us. It became a socially impacting product, and that company has done extremely well for itself. By a regulatory requirement, we had to invest only 50 lakh rupees in that company as an insurance distribution company. That was a regulatory requirement. But the company was valued at 500 crore after about 5-7 years of operation. After another 5 years, the original investor had to move out. A new investor came and valued it at 1300 crore. And as we speak today, somebody is valuing it at 1600 crore. Just a 50 lakh investment. Again, the point that I'm trying to make is if you kind of build a business which is around the customer and you find solution for the customer, and therefore the value that you create out of the business can be disproportionately very large in a rural market. And that's what we really actually demonstrated ourselves through the insurance distribution business when we created this business. In the same breath, we said these are all on the asset side play. What is that we can do to the consumer on the liability side play? We set up a mutual fund business. Again, our interest is not to be in urban market and sell mutual fund. There are diamond dozens, large ones. I don't think we can even believe to compete with them and become large in a short span of time. So we said, why don't we follow our same strategic path of being in the rural market and create investments product for rural India? And as we built that business, again, that in a short span of time, it kind of built a 5,000 crore AUM. But more importantly, there again, an international partner, Manulife of Canada, came and partnered us, said, we want to partner with you as an investor. And they valued that product. And today they have 49% of that business. And they jointly with us are working in the rural market. So my belief has been in rural that it's a phenomenal opportunity. What looks to be a problem from a distance, as you actually go closer to that market, we have realized that it's a fantastic opportunity. It's a fantastic opportunity. But this opportunity you can only capitalize if you keep the customer at the center of your designing and not keep the product at the center of your designing. If you keep product at the center of your designing, I'm afraid that the opportunity starts to shrink. But if you were to keep solution at the center of designing, we have found your horizon substantially enhances and you get customer from different angles, from different walks of life. And that helps you grow your business multifold. It actually helps your business grow multifold. What people used to look at from a distance as a corporate social program when you work in rural, I think we have believed that it's a commercially very, very strongly viable proposition. If you look at our profit numbers for 25 years, we have maintained a CAGR of upward of 25% in profits. The balance sheet has grown upward of 25% in 25 years. So I think to us, it's been a very exciting story to be able to really capitalize on the emerging rural market. But I continue to say that, it's all about your knowledge about that market and not about what kind of a product you have to be able to distribute in that market. It's a market where you will have to partner the customer because they will always go through the cyclic impact, the vagaries of monsoon, as I said, the vagaries of economic downturn, maybe the vagaries of political pressures at different, election times, nothing works in rural. So you will have to live with that pain to say that, okay, next 1 or 2 months, your collections could suffer, your business could suffer. You can't run away from there. But if you partner the customer, I think then this is a business that one can really build and make it absolutely large in that market. And that's what we have really seen. And that's what it has helped us to really do. In spite of doing all of this, in every parameter that is required by the regulatory authority or rating agencies, we have been able to fulfill all the need. We are a AAA rated company, and therefore resourcing of funds has never been a problem. We are a deposit accepting company with a AAA rating of the deposit. Therefore, raising money from the market has never been a problem. Even in the most difficult times of meltdown in 2008-9 or the current ILFS crisis and post, I think we have never had a problem our ability to raise funds from the market. We just did a rights issue very recently, and we got all the money that we are required to get for growth. So again, the point here is that you have to be all the time with the consumer. In the current world, we are all talking of digital disruptions. We are talking of data being used and efficiently used. My belief, and I don't want to be misunderstood, while for sure digital has to be used and digital will do wonder, but we believe that our model will be a phygital model. We will not either be only physical, we will not only be digital. We will have to be a phygital model because people may borrow digitally. Will they repay digitally? If they don't earn regularly, how do they repay digitally? They can commit to pay you, but they can't actually pay you because they're not earning on a regular, understood, structured manner. So there is a need for physical presence also. So we believe that ours will be a phenomenally digital model. I also think that while data will be put to use and data has to be used, we'll have to look at data for trends. We'll have to use data for designing products. All of that is true. But in my personal opinion, data without knowledge is useless, and knowledge without data is equally useless. Gone are days. 25 years back, I could say that, we have a lot of knowledge about rural and we can do wonders. Today, if I say that I have a lot of knowledge about rural, they will say, okay, what data are you relying on? And if you don't have the appropriate data, just the knowledge may misguide you. And same is true that if I say I have tons of data, but I just don't know what the data really represents, I can't make sense out of what the data is representing. Again, that's going to mislead you. So our belief on both digital and data is as follows. We think that a physical presence is necessary to efficiently use digital. We think that sufficient data is required, but you have equally good knowledge. Then and then only you can put the two to an appropriate use and get the best out of this market. We have a dream for ourselves in the next 3 years. We believe that this balance sheet can double itself from where it is. Today, if you are an 80,000 plus crore, it can easily become a lakh and 50,000 crore is a dream that we are driving. I think the customers are ready to embark on this journey, but we will have to become a customer which is able to play in the life cycle of the consumer and not play a specific role. Either you provide or you arrange, that doesn't matter. But you will have to be the focal point on which he will come and say, give me all these financial requirements. Now, if you cannot give him, that's fine, but can you arrange for it? Like we are looking at experience to be at the center of what is required. Likewise, we will have to be a life cycle provider for those consumers. If they want an education loan, I can't tell him, sorry, I don't provide an education loan. You can go and go work with ABCDE. Or if they want a personal loan, I can't tell them, sorry, no, I can't give you a personal loan. I only give a tractor loan. I think that's not going to work. And which is where the data and knowledge will play a phenomenal role. So in our next avatar that we are designing from here on, we are saying, how do we really become a life cycle partner to these customers and meet all their financial needs, both on the loan side as well as on the investment side? And that's the bigger story that we have drawn for success from this market. And we think that that's an opportunity waiting to happen that we can really, really capitalize. We don't believe in customer centricity, but we believe in customer experience. I always think that customer centricity is very transactional, that you've created a customer had a problem, you gave him some kind of a quick fix solution and you solved it and you called yourself customer centric. Like, I mean, you look at any airlines, we have problems. You book a meal, you get into the airline, you start flying, they come with your food, you say, no, this is not what I have ordered. I had actually ordered for a specific meal. So they said, sorry sir, it's not got loaded. So to satisfy you, they come with 2 chocolates and give it to you. They say, sorry sir, next time we'll take care of it. That is customer centricity, I somehow believe, because they just satisfy you for that moment. But customer experience is that if a customer is dissatisfied with what you've done, I think through that learning, you should fix this problem permanently, that your next customer doesn't have a similar problem. So we have worked around customer experience as one of our requirement. It's just a journey. I don't claim to that we are already doing enough about it. We will have enough of dissatisfied customer as compared to enough of satisfied customer. But I think that's a good problem to have, because at least they are telling you what they are not happy with, and they give you an opportunity to rectify it and make it good for them. Right? But for a customer experience, again, in the rural market, and I'm sure it will be in every market, but our understanding is you must have a very deep insight into your customer. It's not enough that if you just know them from a distance, it's not enough just you believe that you have great relationship with them. I think it's absolutely necessary to know them absolute in depth, and only then and then you can provide this kind of experience to customer. We are a very HR centric organization. We are a very people centric organization. And even in this round of pandemic problems, etc., we as a group, we as a company believe that employees should be the last to suffer from any problem. So we have not kind of reduced anybody's salary. We have not removed people. We have ensured that they remain with us. It's not their problem. It's not problem created by them. And therefore, the company must find ways and means to absorb these kind of costs and not work against the interests of the employee. Because ultimately, whatever be your technology, whatever be your digital means, whatever be your product design, I think employees will make all the difference at the marketplace. And therefore, we have believed in ensuring that the employees are respected and retained all time. And that's been our success story, I guess. In a great place to work, all the companies that I run rank amongst the top 25. The insurance broking is somewhere on the 8th, the housing is somewhere on the 12th or 14th, we are on somewhere on the 22nd or 23rd, and each of our company in the great place to work do rank amongst the top 25, because we believe that employees are the key to success in this business, because they are the ones who are connecting with the consumer and ensuring that the organization remains successful. I think these have been the India story for us. Diagonally opposite of this, we have set up a joint venture in the US. We're working with Rabobank, which is the world's largest agri bank, and we are financing tractor in that market. And we run a $1 billion balance sheet, giving a return of 10% on equity. And we think that that's been very successful in the last 10-12 year venture for us. We just set up a venture in the in Sri Lanka, along with a dealer partner for financing of tractors and vehicles. There we simply follow the footprint of Mahindra wherever, whichever country they want to go to. If we see there is a financing opportunity, we may follow that. But that's a very small kind of a venture, I would say. Our story is very local. We believe that India rural is a phenomenal opportunity, and you will not hear of us in Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Calcutta of the world. Our regional offices could be there, but we don't do big businesses in urban city. So we fancy ourselves by calling we are a rural company, and we believe that that's good for us, and that helped us to be what we are. And we are extremely excited and happy to be doing what we are doing. So I think I would stop there. I think I've consumed enough of your time, I guess. If somebody doesn't stop me, I can go on and on this story, because it excites me being the first employee. But I must tell you that this has given all of us everything, right from I joined this group as a management trainee long back, and then I moved across, and then in different businesses within the group. But I was in Leyland for some time, but this venture, when it was started, I was given an opportunity to come back and try out my entrepreneurial capability. So as I said, me and my colleagues started, and today I feel extremely satisfied and happy professionally that for me, it has done everything that it can do. So thank you so much for inviting me. I didn't know what the agenda for me was, but I just narrated the story of what I've done so far, and hope it made any sense to anybody, but I'm open to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramesh Iyer. It was a very passionate sharing, and the passion and the enthusiasm is so infectious, I can tell you. We really enjoyed listening to you, and we don't want you to stop, except that we'd love to ask you a couple of questions which have come from some of our participants
Of course.
who are perhaps seeking to know a little more about the wonderful things that you have done. But before I get into that, I think the biggest learning for all of us this evening has been this very simple message that don't try to market products, don't try to sell a product, focus on the solution. Automatically, everything else will fall into place. Many of us who attended the Wednesday webinar day before yesterday, where we had the Group Director Human Resources of Aditya Birla Group talking about HR practices. But here we had the Vice Chairman and Managing Director of the company, I think, talking as much as him about the HR practices which make your organization so wonderful. I think being human is the secret to success, is what came across very, very strongly. Thank you so much once again. And I will now venture to take up a couple of the questions which come in the chat box already. One of the first questions that has come up is, in the village setting in India, the money lender plays a very, very important role. What have been some of your experiences in dealing with these people when you started interacting with different villages and villagers?
Okay. So when I first went to some of these villages, and I must tell you that, when I started working here, I used to spend 18, 20 hours traveling like an election campaigning. Just go to any destination, take a vehicle with few people, and then start traveling end to end in that country, in that state. Spend 4, 5 days, go to every nook and corner. So I met a lot of money lenders. I met Adatyas. We tried to tell them we'll give you money, because we thought they are the best source who could lend for you and recover for you as well, because they have so much local control. So we just tested out to ask them, we'll give you more money. They said, who's told you that we have shortage of money? He said, we can fund you if you want to. We have enough money. So don't come to us saying that you will give us money and we'll do it for you. So that was my first shock and learning when I interacted with moneylender. At the same time, when we started talking to consumers and we told them that, why are you borrowing from them? We will give you money. Believe in me. Believe in me. They will never ever antagonize a money lender for another borrower, because they know for a fact that the money lender for some of these consumers are like an ATM 24 by 7. They can knock at the door of a money lender in the night 12 o'clock and say, I have a health issue in the family, I need 5,000 rupees to rush to some place. That fellow will give them 5,000 rupees in a midnight. Will Mahindra Finance be able to do that? No way. No way. So they would never be able to we will never be able to replace a money lender. But yes, money lender has a very unique way of pricing. It may be interesting for you to know that if you go for a borrowing in the morning at 10 o'clock, the rate is the lowest. And when you borrow from him in the midnight, the rate is the highest, because he knows the emergency of your requirement, right? So it is a price for the purpose. But at the same time, he meets your purpose. So who cares what's the rate, because your emergency purpose is being met by somebody. So I personally think money lenders will coexist. They are a necessary ingredient of the village requirement of the local population. And I'm not sure that there are alternate models available where they can draw money from someone else with that speed and with that understanding. And therefore, our learning was that don't ever try to counter a money lender or convince somebody that you are better than a money lender because your rates are lower and all that. You are only messing around. Choose for yourself the product that you will be good at, which money lender is not going to, and therefore create a product for yourself which consumers are happy to work with you. Don't try and replace money lender. That's the learning we got from that market straight across.
Well, that's a very interesting information, because we always perceive the money lender as a necessary evil in the system. But I think you have beautifully explained the ability to coexist with that person and yet continue to do business effectively. You did mention in passing, Mr. Iyer, about the demonetization and how it created a lot of ripples on how you're going to manage it at the corporate office, keeping in mind all the policies of the organization. Could you also throw some light on what were some of the reactions at the village level and how did people cope up with it?
So, as soon as this was announced, the first reaction was from our own teams across the country, because they said, what are we going to do next? Right? So they said, we can't go and collect money from customers, and how we will run this business, because we have financed thousands of crores and that money has to come back. So the pressure was first from the in-house employees to what should we be really doing. Of course, the good news was that 10 rupee, 20 rupee, 5 rupee, 50 rupee, 100 rupee were all continuing. So we had to handle larger number of notes as compared to less number of notes over a period of time. But I think the first step, as I said, we took was to, ensure that the machine doesn't accept 1,000 or a 500 rupee note. Therefore, that had to be stopped forthwith. But then all of us got onto the field and we started reaching out to our consumer and started interacting with them to understand what is their thinking about it. And they said that, yes, business will come back. We will find alternatives way, because ultimately we have to earn our money from this product. And instead of storing, so people started paying us on a daily basis. See, typically what happens is when they earn 10 rupee, 50 rupee, 100 rupee, etc., they store it with them. Then they go to the bank for some purpose. They deposit some money there and then issue a check or clear a post-dated check with us. So now they started saying, I can't store so much money, so I will start paying you on a daily basis. So our administrative costs zoomed up. From what we used to collect twice a month became everyday collection. So this became a new problem that we had to handle. But I think good news was that within a month or so, the new notes started coming and then people started accepting it. But that November and December was a very pressurizing month from, just controlling the emotions of both consumer and employees, to say that, we will have to be very, very calm, very patient, because there were kind of reactions like, should we start repossessing vehicles? If people are not going to pay, should we take back vehicles? Should we take back tractors? And once you agree to that, your yards can be full of old tractors and vehicles. And what do you do with all of them? You will have to sell it in the local market. So we will have to control the emotions of people to say, don't worry. Because the employees' earnings compensation is also based on their performance. Now, their fear was not what will really do. Their fear also was they will stop to earn. Their jobs could be at stake. You look at their personal pressure points. So we had to handle the people side of it more than the business side of it, right? And we didn't want anybody to do anything wrong out of pressure and fear. But fortunately, the ground got corrected very fast. If it had lingered for another 3, 4, 6 months, then possibly things would have become even more difficult. Since the government announced you can go to a local bank and all your earnings you can deposit with a disclosure that how you have earned and all that, then many people who are genuine earners of this money could immediately convert also. So we required a lot of patience and partnering.
Sure. Once again, I think you are emphasizing the key message that you are partnering and trying to find a solution than trying to get into the mode of punishing them due to the circumstances beyond their control.
Yeah, yeah.
Much appreciated.
And when it comes to people, I must tell you that you must handle people in this business with a lot of care, because this is a business built on trust, right? I mean, we always tell, I think this is something important to share. Everybody says, we have a very empowered organization, right? Empowerment should never be done unless you trust. Because if you empower somebody and you don't trust somebody, you are killing yourself. And I must tell you my very first experience of this. We also believe to be an empowered organization, giving local authority to credit, do credit, etc. Somebody called me up thousands of miles away and said, I collected 50,000 rupees while traveling in a bus, my bag was snatched. Believe in me, my spontaneous reaction was, how the hell you can allow this to happen? You don't even have care to handle company money. You don't have common sense. How can I believe in you? The A, B, C, D. I put down the phone and then I was thinking to myself, what if he had not even told me? When in life would I have even come to know that he has lost this money? Only when that customer becomes an NPA, right? And those days there was no mobile or nothing, right? So that fellow again called me up. Then I told him, wherever you are, you please get down immediately, go to the nearest police station and tell me which area it is and tell me who is our Mahindra dealer in that area. I will send him for help and make sure you are safe. This message to him, even if he's a guilty guy, he will not do anything wrong in life, right? But if you go the other way around and say, you're going to be sacked, how can you handle company money with less care and all that, he will say, next time I'll not even tell you if something like this happens. So this is a business where trust and empowerment has to be hand in hand, and you have to be very careful in dealing with people.
Absolutely. Next interesting question is we've been reading a lot about the fact that the agri sector was less affected in the pandemic. But having said that, a lot of the urban population who were migrant labor ultimately ended up going back to the villages. Could you throw some light on what were some of the ground realities and did it impact your business?
So I won't say agri sector, I would say rural was less impacted. It could include agri, of course.
Okay.
And the rural was less impacted for two reasons, I guess. One, social distancing is little more natural in rural with vast areas. They are not overcrowded like cities of our country. So therefore, it could get handled little better. Second is fortunate that this problem did not transfer to that place in a big way. Possibly they are more stronger than all of us possibly are, so they could even face it and handle it better or whatever. But I must tell you one more thing about rural, how we handle what we saw on the ground, etc. is, see, unless they start to earn on a daily basis, they also know that their tomorrow is not very safe, right? Because all they have to earn their daily living there. So they all came back to work. They started, running the vehicle locally. Essential goods were being transported in the pickups and the LCVs. The labor went back to the farms and started doing the agri labor business. So I think the overall transaction definitely restarted after the initial 1 or 2 months. April was a disaster. When the lockdown was announced, I mean, collections were close to zero, business was absolutely zero, right? May slowly opened up. And then as I speak to you, month after month, we saw improvement to business as well as collection. But like all of us, they have also become careful. If they earn 100 rupees, they only give away 30, 40 rupees, they store 50 rupees because they also don't know what next. So therefore, they are not spending like before. So the festival season was not as exciting as it used to be in the past. The wedding season was not as exciting as it used to be in the past. So the size of those celebrations did come down. Therefore, the overall volumes come down. The revenues have started was much lower, but we definitely saw activity levels to be much higher than what we saw in the urban center, and the sentiments are definitely positive.
Good. Great to hear that. Mr. Fernandez, you're unmuted. You can go ahead with your question, please.
Yeah. Well, extremely fascinating, socially desirable product. I was only wondering that these gentlemen whom we recruit, Mr. Ramesh Iyer, what are their qualifications in the rural areas? One, and two, the branch office, is it part of the house?
No. So when we say 1,300 branches, they are all rented independent branches, not in the house. I'll tell you, we originally thought we will use the house as a residence branch, but the problem is the kind of customers who can come and can create problem at home. And then it can start disturbing the family, especially, defaulters, we repossess vehicle, they can come and make it very difficult for families. So we decided not to have residence branches, and we started having our own branch, but on a rented basis. So far as the recruitment qualification is concerned, the field level guys are all graduates from the local colleges, and we spend a lot of efforts and time in integrating them into the culture of the company through our various training program. I myself am a part of delivering talks and lectures to all these people right from their induction stage. And the good news for us, sir, is if you look at the organization and if you take the top 4,000 people in the company from the 30,000, they are all with us from day one. So we have grown people within the organization. Somebody who was a branch manager became an area manager, became a zonal manager, before today has come to HO as a product manager. So they all know what works on the ground. They know what works at a branch level. So we impart a lot of this hands-on training, hand-holding training, and not classroom training from big training houses. Because to hold these people in a classroom and train them for 8 hours daily for another 3 days is a hell. They just cannot control themselves sitting in one room. So we create mentors for them, and they travel with these people, they observe them, and after the meeting they explain to them what they did not do right, how they could actually do it differently. We have created a lot of internal case studies of various experiences that we have had in handling difficult case, in handling repossessions, in lending businesses, in getting into new product, in running of a branch. Like I run a program on who should be the first person to come to a branch. Is it a branch manager or the peon? At a local level, they hand over the key to the peon and they tell him, go and open the branch. मैं आएगा थोड़ी देर में, साहब late आता है. So, you have to have this kind of a method to teach them on who will come and first open the branch. When you enter the branch, which room you enter first, your room or a cash room, right? So I think these little things of hands-on running a business and experience is the training we provide to them while they come only as a graduate. And over a period of time, we make sure that they integrate themselves into the culture, and then we give them growth opportunity. We even send them for higher studies. We have some post graduation programs for them, and we try and see, we spot talent and then we support them for growth and send them for higher education and give them opportunities of growth.
Thank you.
All right, that was wonderful hearing from a business leader that we not only grow organizations, but we grow the people in our organizations. I think that is very, very nice to hear from and really praiseworthy. The next question is from Professor Kiran Yadav. Over to you, Kiran.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Ramesh Iyer. I mean, your talk took me back to the 1994 time when I started a similar role like what you did. But you just mentioned about the airline industry and how they treat passengers. In fact, my role was
I'm
to
sorry.
set up
I'm so
set up
sorry.
a collection center for the airline industry. Okay,
Okay.
with about 100,000 agents spread across the country, and different holidays, different banking days, and trying to get the money in time and make sure that the monies reach the airline in the fastest and most efficient fashion. And I was just thinking about the very, very similar, one table, two chairs, two people, started with a very low budget. And then ultimately, when I quit in 2004, we were actually settling about 100,000 crore rupees of the airline industry on a
Very good.
annual basis.
Brilliant.
So very exciting. I have two questions for you, sir. One is that you this whole model is, as far as your experience is, learn as you go. Get insights, understand them, identify problems, and then seek solutions that can actually work and make sense, and that can be an opportunity to also run a company and make some money out of it. So my first question to you is, what are the problems and opportunities on your horizon for the rural markets that you see in the immediate future? Considering the fact that you've done so many things. You've started with tractors, but now you're into mutual funds, insurance, personal loans, and other areas that you're thinking about. And of course, you seem to have groomed the people to be able to make those decisions that are actually catering to a customized solution rather than having a policy driven uh, you know atmosphere.
That's right.
And my second question, if I may also add this one in, is that when you're doing this, when you're looking at opportunities, what is the critical data that you would be looking for to identify opportunities? Because you said that data would play a very critical role in your future endeavors.
That's right.
So what data are you looking for now?
So let
Just
me
trying to
first
understand.
quickly
Yeah.
speak of the opportunity. Uh, First is my apologies. I referred to airlines. It was just my personal experience, so I thought I must share with you what's the difference in my mind for centricity and experience.
I hope you
But
like the chocolates.
we worked. Yeah, yeah, of course, yes. I was in a Swiss Air, so obviously, so,
Sorry. Yeah.
no. So we are in 4 lakh villages, right? And we have X millions of customers who are in these villages. And I'm just asking to myself, in situation where if my 4 lakh villages, if my 7 million customer becomes my sales team, I don't need anything more, right? This 7 million customer can become my ambassador in that village and start referring proposals to me from that village for any loan that the village wants. I can generate 7 million inquiry a year and are discounted by any percentage of conversion possible. I have a parallel balance sheet in it. So we are that's why I use the term called customer inciting and experience. So I want to make sure that my 7 million customers, I know about them and they are very excited about the experience they have had with us, and they are willing to stretch themselves to say, I will refer a case to you from my village, right? And we can now design any financial product for them, including if they want to invest. Like, I've got a mutual fund, I've got a mutual fund distribution business, I'm a deposit accepting company, so therefore I can even give investment products to them. So I can play on both sides of the balance sheet, right? So that's one excitement on which we are really working on, to say, how do we really, and then we have 3 million guarantors to this customer who are independent guarantors, who may not have borrowed from me, but they are also as good a possible customer for me of future. So today what I have is a large customer base, a very deep penetrated presence, and a capability to have multiple loan and investment product. So I have all of this ready. I have to find a way to execute. Now, therefore, how do I use this data and more meaningfully? Which is, now I'm segmenting all my customer into different segments, so that any customer walks into me will fit into one of those segments. Unlike before, where I looked at every customer as a new customer and I had to put effort to design. Now with 7 million customer, I can't have more than that segment in this country. Now, if anybody walks in and by his basic parameter, if I can segment him with what I have internally, my product is automatic for him. to say that, okay, this is what you want, this is what works for you, take it. Right now, how do we look at the peripheral or the opportunity? We have tied up with various agencies, like which are the economically viable village, what are the economic activity of the village, how far is the bank from that particular location, right? What are the other activities of the village, what are the crops that is grown in this, what has been the last x number of years of yield and the prices that they have got. So there are a lot of support information that's available from external source and agencies, right? And we don't have to now create all of that. When we got into this market, all of this had to be created. Now these are all available. Now we also are working for a group which has got all the various businesses, like we have an agri business, we've got a tractor business, we've got a three-wheeler business. They also collect a lot of information from all these sources in a very different way. So the biggest challenge that we are working on, how do we synergize in a group like this, that all of us are willing to work together? Right? In a big group, these are all challenges. I'm a president of a sector. I would say, if you want something, walk across to me. I won't walk across to him, even if I know he needs it. So we are trying to create synergy even within the group. I'm just being honest about it. We are creating synergy within the group and see how we can various businesses work together. So I think there is internal data available. There is large customer base and experience available. There is deeper presence and penetration available. There is multi-product available to be administered, right? And there is a group level synergy that is being built, and there is external data available. Put this all together, I think that's a real big thing to be done tomorrow.
Right. Thanks. I think that's very encouraging to understand that you're.
Over to you, Indrapalji. You can just unmute and speak.
Yeah. Very insightful talk by you, Mr. Iyer. I think most of us living in the cities do not really have even an iota of understanding of the rural markets as you have shared with us. I have several questions in mind, but the one that I have is that what percentage of your branch managers are women, and what percentage of your borrowers are women? Because I think that divide, is, we read in the papers that, our backwardness or poverty can be removed if we bring women into the mainstream and provide them opportunities of business or even any small kind of self-help groups, etc. So your comments and answer, please.
Yeah. So on the first one, I will score 0 on 10 because we have only about 3 or 4 women branch managers, and we don't have more than that. And again, it's a myth that we have to break. We somehow believe this is a difficult business, cash handling, repossessions, customers will become difficult. And we have to break that myth. So we have not been able to crack that yet, but I must admit that we have done very poorly on that front. But as far as customers are concerned, I just saw some recent data, which is about 9% of our customers are women. But I must tell you that this is more the family borrows on a women name, but she may not be the actual customer using the vehicle or tractor. So it is by data point, it is 9%, but on an actual use basis, this will also fall substantially because, the husband would have already taken one tractor or a vehicle on his name. The second one he wants to buy, so he puts the women name. So it's not that she is the real generator of a money or whatever. But one interesting concept, I will tell you what I'm trying to do, is we have created something called all women NBFC within Mahindra Finance. Now, there are young girls who we engage as management trainees 5 years back, 4 years back, who have now become officers. I have entrusted this job to them, and it's kind of ready for execution. They have done phenomenal survey work, and we are setting up everything. It's for women by women. So we will only finance women customers. We will do their small ticket loan requirement to be more independent. We have looked at things like pickle making, handicrafts, some 7-8 professions they have kind of identified which requires hand loans, and they will all be funded and will be completely run by women within the company. So I've got a note ready, and we have already piloted that, and we are launching it from this April. It's a very interesting kind of a thing, and whenever Professor Mani gives me an opportunity, I will, in the next round, maybe whenever there is a talk possible on women NBFC, I will invite them to also speak. It's a very interesting concept.
Fantastic. More than welcome. I'll certainly keep that as a rain check and call you back.
Yeah.
But we are, I think, Mr. Iyer, you are absolutely, I mean, you're extremely, you know, your humility is more than necessary, I would say. But I think you are teaching marketing 101 in the true sense to everyone, that what really marketing means, and who is the customer, and how to, you know, we said we should satisfy needs of the customers, but I don't think people do that. They are rather busy peddling their own products, etc. So I suppose this lecture could become a keystone lecture in various management institutes if the people around here, as an introduction to what marketing is all about and what success it can bring. I think it's a wonderful contribution you have made today to the knowledge of marketing field.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your blessings.
Yes, truly said. And I think, as I said somewhere before, we are truly inspired by the wonderful work that you are leading. And whenever we listen to you, and this is maybe the fourth or fifth occasion for me, it really gives one feeling very, very inspired. I have a question here from Sanjay. Go ahead, Sanjay. If you can put on your video, I can spot you and unmute you. I'm not able to spot you at this second, Sanjay. Go ahead. All right. While yeah, Sanjay, go ahead now. I've unmuted you.
Yes, sir. It was wonderful listening to you and the insight which you gave. Sir rightly mentioned that it can become a valuable lesson for people who in the management institutes. My question is, how deeply can we use the same thing in aviation sector? Or usefully we can use the same information in the management in the aviation sector?
So I don't know much about aviation, but one thing I know is people are the same in whichever sector they are. So my real request is, one has to always keep visiting the HR practices of an industry, because ultimately it's an employee who makes or breaks the business. It is never a product which fails, but it's an employee who makes a product fail. So, in the aviation industry, there are some excellent staff that we have met, and we have met extremely difficult staff as well on the other side. I'm not talking of if I am at fault, somebody should reach out to help me. But even when I'm at fault, but I'm also under the tremendous pressure. And I will share with you one very simple example from the aviation. Invariably, people like us believe that we will reach the airport on time. That's our foolish belief, right? And we work up to the last minute in the office and somehow rush and then get caught somewhere in the traffic and run all through up to the, check-in counters. And they say we've closed the counter. But you look at the pressure with which we reach the counter. And if somebody was to just simply shut us by saying, nothing can be done, it's all closed, over, go, that shatters you even further. But if somebody was to just kind of very peacefully even explain to you saying, sir, we just can't help you. We are extremely sorry. You're a little late. Even 1 minute before we could have tried to do whatever. At least we'll calm down my pressure. I know that you're not doing anything for me, but at least it will calm down my pressure. So I personally think that in the aviation side, if people can be taught to handle people in a very standardized, acceptable manner, and I'm not saying don't accommodate them for any wrongs. If I've reached late, it's better I pay a price for it. But at the end of the day, it's two human beings which are dealing with each other. So also consider my concern of the pressure that I'm coming to you with, right? So I think this is what we have tried to do in our business. I mean, when somebody is not able to collect money in the marketplace, it is wrong to believe that he or she would not have put efforts. So I always first try to tell them, tell me what we could have done to you so that you could have collected better, rather than starting by saying why the hell you didn't collect. Right? So I have very strongly believed that when I do a talk with my branch managers on the phone, I don't ask them about what good things they have done. That's my bloody job to know what good thing they have done by looking at their eyes and tell them in advance that you have done these 5 good things. But my job is to tell them, tell me what is your problem that I can solve if I have called you. That makes them so confident and so comfortable and so energetic that out of 5 problems, they anyway will solve 3 problems on their own without telling you, because you have given them the energy. Sir, you're on mute, I guess.
Sanjay, unmute and speak again.
Yes, sir. Very rightly said. What you mentioned is ultimately we are dealing with people in any industry. So understanding of the human nature and human problems and dealing with the human beings in a human manner is the most important.
Sir, I'll tell you, all my people learning has come from visiting Udupi restaurants. The way they deal with you, even by not giving you a seat, or when they have to make you get up from where you are sitting, is something to be learned from them. That waiter will come and keep the water with so much of force that the water will spill, you will automatically get up. He will not tell even a single word. He has not hurt you. He has done his job and he has made you to get up. Likewise, when you're standing outside the hotel, when lot of people are waiting, he will every time give you an impression that you are on his priority list. But he will only give you at a time when your number comes. Even though if I know the owner, I would first go and shake hands with him to influence him. This fellow will note down my name. He'll give me a serial number, and every 2 minutes he'll tell you, sir, aapka dhyan rakha hai, dhyan rakha hai. But he will only allow me when my time comes. But just imagine if that person was to tell me, nahi, nahi, aapko bhi sabke jaise hi chhodega. I'm already a hurt fellow. So I think Udupi restaurant is a place to see. You do look at the owner sitting in the cash counter is exactly the way we have designed our branches. That from sitting in that branch counter, he can see the whole branch, whatever is happening, without really moving up to any table. I think just go deeper into the Udupi model and you will know how well they handle people.
Well, Ramesh, you're giving us food for thought for another session. We should call you as to what they teach you at Udupi hotels.
Yeah.
About managing people. All right. There are still more questions, but I'm going to just take one more question so that we respect your time. I'm aware that you have to go in for the next meeting in a couple of minutes. Yeah. And that question pertains to the fact that you have said so many positive things and positive experiences of how your organization could empathize with its biggest set of customers. Would you also share 1 or 2 difficult customers or bad experiences you had, particularly vis-a-vis repayments? Because when it comes to borrow, everybody is in a different mindset, but repayment, the mindset changes. I'm sure you had some difficult situations. It'll be good if we could hear 1 or 2 from you.
No, so we have had not one, we have many. I'll be very honest to share both our internal failures and failures from outside, from customer side. Let me first share with you our internal failures. This is a cash collecting business. And if I to tell you that we had zero fraud, I am bluffing, right? So in spite of, engaging people, developing culture, good people being around there, all kinds of things said, but still people misappropriate, right? Especially when you deal with a weaker section of the crowd, right? So somebody comes and pays 15,000 rupees installment, you will just write in a small chit and give it to him 15,000 receipt, and that poor fellow in good faith will go away, and you will only account for 5,000 and pocket the 10,000, and that fellow will only realize when his final account is being settled or whatever, right? So it is very necessary that everyone in the branch also has to be vigilant, and we have had these kind of instances. However good HR practices we have, one of the good HR practice everybody should have is people doing wrong things, people misappropriating should also not be spared. Doing good does not mean that you have to accommodate wrongdoing. So we have to be ruthless with such people so that you give out very strong signals and examples of what are all not acceptable to organization. So that is something that we have had as experiences and we have done. Now, when it comes to consumer side, when they borrow, like somebody is asked, yes, they do come, as I said, hundreds of miles, they borrow and, they start to use. So we have called something called intentional defaulter and circumstantial defaulter. So if there are circumstantial defaulters because his business is failed or his vehicle is met with an accident or he did not earn as much as he originally projected to earn. I think we have to give him time. We have to understand. We have to explain to him. And if he still doesn't want to, we can always take back the asset. Intentional defaulters are invariably the ones which is, the dealer refers a wrong case to you knowingly. Your local team also knows that it's a wrong customer, but out of the fear of dealer pressure, you sometimes finance them. And then you must have MIS systems, which tells you that people from day one have not paid, people who have not paid from second installment. And those you have to go immediately deeper and take back the asset and book a loss. So the biggest lesson I have learned in this business, if you fear to book a loss, increase your loss at every stage. So no sooner you've incurred a problem, cut the loss then and there itself, don't worry. Don't delay booking of a loss. And whenever customers have acted very difficult with our people, and if we have found that we are not at fault, we have even gone and filed legal cases against the customers. We have filed police complaints against the customers. We have used all our might and right and power to reach out to the required people in administration and make sure that the consumers are put to proper shape. And in the name of consumerism, we shouldn't allow misuse of their power over our people, because people will lose respect for you. So we have had very difficult cases. Sometimes we finance fleet operators 10 vehicle, 20 vehicle. And if that fellow defaults, you can't repossess all 20 vehicles because he'll be keeping some in his yard, some will be in workstation, some will be in Guwahati, somewhere else. So, sometimes you will have to, in those cases, it is a responsibility of the senior management to not pressurize the junior team, but they have to jump into it and say, no, you can't handle it, stay away, I will handle it. So it's a managerial solution rather than an amicable commercial solution. So as the problem goes to next level, the senior people starts to get involved. But whenever customers have behaved very difficult with us in a very unacceptable manner, I think we've gone up to the level of even making police complaints or even going up to courts if necessary. But we have had some real tough ones.
All right, I'm sure with your ability to manage all these tough situations, Mahindra continues to be the inspirational organization that people always look up to, irrespective of which unit of the Mahindra Group that we are talking about. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh Iyer. It was indeed a pleasure to have you with us over the last 90 minutes. It was truly a wonderful storytelling exercise which inspired every one of us out here. I'm going to request my colleague on the executive committee of the Bombay Management Association, Professor Kiran Yadav, to please do a small wrap up and propose a vote of thanks, please.
My only parting comment would be, tell everybody to respect everybody else as human being before you can really respect them, and before you can deal with them as either a consumer or your employee or whatever. Because a true leader is someone where their subordinates or their peers are willing to come and discuss their personal problems with them, means the leader has arrived. Because official problem anyway they will discuss with you because you have the authority. I test myself always on how many people are willing to come and confide their personal problem in me and seek a solution or a help from me. Then I know that I am an accepted leader. And that comes only when you respect everybody who work for you, whether you're senior, junior, or your peers or anybody. I thought I'll just leave this thought with you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ramesh Iyer, it was wonderful having you with us today and listening to your story. We all wish that it went on and we could get more of your wisdom. But as is the policy at BMA, timekeeping is something that we have to respect. And your last message, that if you want to be a leader, you have to start with an unbiased mindset, I think is also the very impactful. Uh, I, while presenting the vote of thanks, what I would like to do is, as showing our gratitude for your time and sparing your knowledge and wisdom and experience with us, I want to share with you one opportunity which you may want to take forward, especially with your women's wing, which you seem to be a little, I would say, shy about talking. In Sudhagad Taluka, the Tehsildar and the collector have put together a program to train 100 women to become rickshaw drivers, which is different from, making them do handicrafts and things like
Correct.
that. So
Correct.
maybe there's an opportunity. I don't know. You're probably already in the aware of it, or you're already in the know of it, where this can become something that can add a little feather to your women's initiatives.
Surely. Surely.
And I think saying thank you would be, simply ornamental. I think we really enjoyed, and we are taking away a lot of, value from what you've shared with us. I would also like to thank all our executive committee members, our past presidents, and all the participants who did spare their time to come and listen to your valuable inputs. And I'm sure they are all going enriched back today with some exposure on what is, I would call as a dose of rural sensitization. So thank you so much, and looking forward to more sessions, as our president, Mr. Mani, says in the future, to low Murphy. And stay, everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay profitable. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kiran. Thank you. And may I
Sincerely
request
hope it will
everybody,
become sense to
just put on
everybody.
your videos for a group photograph. Though we do it digitally, it serves as a lovely memory of the times we spent.
Please just give me 1 second. I'll just put on the light
Yeah,
because it suddenly got dark here.
no problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, put on your cameras. Let's have a group photograph. Lakshmi, Supriya, Oindrilla are all set. They are now digital photography experts. Right, that's the Secretariat of BME who does the honors. So in the digital world, you don't need to call a photographer also. And while we put on our best smiles, let me tell you that next Wednesday, we have a very interesting session on learning from Indian tradition. This is by a very eminent Vedic scholar. His name is Suresh, and he is actually a CA, ICWA, CS, but as a second career, decided to get into research on Indian values, ethos, and traditions. So Suresh will be meeting us next Wednesday. And next Friday, we have yet another very interesting session on Indian culture. And this is going to be presented to us by the Chief Executive Officer of Amar Chitra Katha. I'm sure all of us have read Amar Chitra Katha, Jataka Tales, and such comics. But this is not going to be a comical session. It's going to actually be a very inspiring session on how we can learn and how Amar Chitra Katha used these comics to foster Indian tradition and ethos among the younger generation. That's what we have lined up for next week. The details of the entire January calendar are there on the website. You can get the other details from there. Do continue to join us in this learning journey. We are hoping that we help you through this process by taking you to a century. We've done about 80 webinars till now. With all your support and active and enthusiastic participation, we look forward to your continuous participation in this learning journey. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh Iyer, once again. As someone rightly said, we sincerely appreciate your desire to share, and we are absolutely impressed with all that you shared with us so willingly, and of course, inspired by your humility. Thank you so much again, Mr. Ramesh Iyer.
Thank you very
Good
much.
evening, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. I log off. Thank you.